Greetings, 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 YouTube. We're here back for another nerd report, and we got some. Not, I'm not gonna say terrible news. I'll say, do you feel like you've been scammed? Do you feel like you've been duped? Well, stay tuned. Please subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and then also stay for the story. So, I've been coming across these articles now. We're about 6 or 7 years, about 5 to 6 years in on the 5G rollout, and we got some articles popping up. This one's from Bloomberg. Why 5G is a expensive flop, and I will end up talking about this and one of the reasons why I can see why people might feel this way. But then you also have more scathing sites calling it the 5G scam and how we got played by the biggest tech hype of the decade. Now, if you're I call it a network enthusiast like myself, quote unquote, speed tester anonymous. Most of us like to press the speed testing button repeatedly to see how fast the networks are actually going. Really, speed testing is just basically checking the capacity of the network in the exact spot you're at. So that's kind of what speed testing actually is. A lot of people like to see the numbers fluctuate. But because of 5G, we end up getting a little more hype than we normally do for all the other Gs. And I would say we're approaching some very tentative times right now, and 5G is starting to get to the place where it needs to start proving itself. And I, on the other hand, I feel like as a person who follows the tech, I like the direction we're going in, but it's kind of what I consider more of a foundational setup for future possibilities. But not everybody was ready to move away from 4G. And rightfully so. You can actually make a case and say that they could have did this upgrade and nobody would ever really known what was going on in the background. Really. Your cell phones was just going to eventually evolve over time. It was all designed to try to sell more hardware on not only to consumers, like giving phones and different other things, but to also have the carriers have multiple revenue streams that they can build upon. Now, the problem is when 5G got handed down to us and shown off, it was more along the lines of, hey, look what it can do. And one of the things is I'm reading from the Bloomberg side. Let me pull this one up. So I'm reading from the Bloomberg side, and it would change our life. 5G was sold to vendors enabling technologies such as robotics, autonomous vehicles, virtual reality. Doctors would be able to perform surgery remotely, and self-driving cars communicating via 5G would co-sign traffic jams to the history. 5G would allow people to interact with one another in a parallel online metaverse, manufacturing production lines, domestic applications, and most kind of electronic devices would tap into these light speed networks. But part of the problem is we're 6 years into a rollout, and what do you have to show for the extra money that we're spending for these networks? One of the things was 4G, when we were moving from 3G to 4G, Verizon moved kind of fast, but they moved fast in such a way because they charge you to upgrade to the next G. In this G, when we got into 5G, we didn't get charged to go up, but we're now starting to pay for it currently right now. So like you're starting to see price increases happening across the board. T-Mobile has done 2 price increases, staggered rollouts in the last 2 years. What is it? Verizon has done 3. AT&T's done about 3 staggered rollouts, and that's all just to raise the price up to pay for these new 5G networks. And part of the problem is it costs money. I mean, from phones to hardware to solutions, it requires more hardware to do 5G than it was for 4G. And on top of that, more spectrum, more radio frequencies to do the same exact work. But now we're starting to see, is this a worthwhile upgrade? You know, one of the biggest problems was there was no big killer app for 5G. And there still hasn't been one for a good while now. You know, Instagram hasn't gotten faster. You might be able to have a better connection in some venues because there's more places to put radios antennas inside of your local, venue, mall, or concert hall, maybe even arenas. There's more places to hang hardware from, better line of sight. These are the things that makes it better in smaller or bigger venues. But part of the problem is there's no killer app. Doctors are not opting to do surgery in the middle of nowhere. They're not gonna, dial in to back to the hospital when they're on vacation to do somebody's surgery on their leg. It's not gonna happen. But part of the problem is, finding a use case for this new 5G. Online gaming. I'm a big component for online gaming. I'm a gamer on the side. Gaming hasn't gotten any better on 5G than it was on 4G, which I haven't got to the place where I can fully game on the go because coverage is still shoddy. Gamers still prefer to game at home. Now we're starting to get more portable devices, but that's going to only be around the house for the time being. Your Zoom call hasn't gotten any better. So part of these problems is they're not solving any issues, but you're paying more for services. And these things is what you end up paying for. And, 5G is expensive. To install these networks, there's more antennas in more places. If you're doing the Verizon route, you had to put up even more antennas because of millimeter wave. And you got these deals that you got to make with local municipalities to build on their streets. And these local municipalities are going to want money too. You're coming down to ground level, which is one of the reasons why moving to 5G and millimeter wave was such a big thing, because we're using higher frequency radio waves. Now the problem with 5G, and it still looks like it was 4G except for the millimeter wave part, but nobody really saw any big differences. And then how do you tell somebody that they need to pay more money for something that they don't see a big difference for? So it makes it kind of difficult to sell something when you're not seeing the benefit add. Now, there was a drastic benefit to going from 3G to 4G. You saw big differences, going from 1.5 megs a second to like 20 megs a second. That was a big dramatic increase for web use, going from 3G to 4G. 4G to 5G, rural America still is seeing maybe 1.5 to 2 megs in certain points. They're getting better, but 5G is not overall drastically changing everything for the better just yet. And part of the reason why you're starting to see these price increases also is because here in America, we have finally more competition. So Verizon couldn't play the same exact game it played when 4G, which is charge you to upgrade and then kind of move, in the background and go, hey, now we have 4G now. Everybody has it. They had, competition from their left and their right, and they could not directly overcharge people for something that was not going to be a beneficial to them right away. The art of being able to say, hey, this new thing that we have over here is better, but you need to pay more to be able to experience it. There were so many different little things that all the carriers were doing, which was ridiculous. So take at&t, for example. at&t went so far as to not even try to put new antennas up and just change your logo on your phone and told you it was 5GE. That's kind of how lazy at&t's been about their network. They're going as far as saying that, hey, we don't really need to move fast. They want to still charge you more, and they're not trying to give you more. So that's one of the reasons why 5G is kind of stagnant here in America. And overseas is way different. They're moving not as fast. And the funny thing is, a lot of the standards that we have done to get to 5G, we're still unlocking standards underneath 4G, and we haven't fully rolled out 4G all the way. So this is one of the reasons why this articles like this has been showing up over the web now. I cannot blame anybody for looking at their phone and going, I'm paying a lot of money for this device and I'm not getting my money's worth. I can see why articles like this are starting to pop up. Is this an expensive flop? Now, from a network enthusiast like myself, I've been basking in the glory of. But from a consumer point of view, I can see how this is more of a status quo is still the same. But leave it down in the comment below. Let me know what you think. I'm of the sense, from a consumer standpoint, that 5G is kind of a bust. There's not many things that you're going to really be experiencing unless you're a home internet user. Being able to, run your home internet from a box that next to your window, you might want to use that as a differentiating setup. But overall, your phone is still acting the same exact way as it was under 4G as it is under 5G. But let me know what you think. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I'm curious to see what your point of views are. And I'll talk to y'all again.